Gina, radio is cool, but no. This face belongs on the tissue.
We are here. We are here. It's your boy, the coach, and welcome back to the Coach's Huddle, where the field meets family. And don't look now, but we got an off season to talk about, and we got a draft to get to, and there's no days off. There's no days off, Tom. I'm here with my guy, Tom Jensen, the man with the plan. We got free agency. We got drafts. We got special teams coaches. We got shows that keep getting pushed back until they finally go live. We got everything, Tom. How are you doing, Tom? What's going on?
I'm doing okay, Coach. You hanging in?
I'm really good, man. We're in the doldrums of winter. Yeah. So it's just cold on top of cold, but we're getting through it. Right now, we got one more game left in the regular season. I'm excited because we got Shrine Bowl. We got Senior Bowl practices. You know, draft prospects are starting to emerge. You know, guys that we thought were going to be later in the draft are climbing up. We're shaping out the draft, figuring out what the strengths are of this draft. What are the weaknesses? So I'm excited. It finally gets us to getting better, actually getting to the infrastructure of the team, which is really fun to do. You're not really a fan if you don't care about this section of the season, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely.
And also, it helps us turn the page, right? Like, it's time. We lost 6 games, blah, blah, blah. Kyle, Brock, defense, Devondre Campbell, blah, blah, blah. All right, it's over. But if you're really paying attention to the net, Robert Saleh's in the building. Brent Boyer's in the building. We've got some synchronicity. We've got some syntax with what they said versus what they've done. All right. So the audio is matching the visual. All right. Which you love to see. Sure. And right now, we did a show last week about, it was basically a Saleh show, right? Yeah. A Saleh fiesta. Right? The whole day. And there were a lot of topics that we touched on, but one of them particularly was Saleh's impact on not only the team, but the defense. And we're seeing right away that we were on the player side of things, you know, Javon Kinlaw, you know, possibly Diggs coming over, you know, some other guys from the defensive line, some sneaky gets, possibly a returner or two. But we didn't talk about the coaching side of things. We didn't really get into what it looks like with the Saleh effect for the coaching staff of the 49ers. Mm-hmm. And we saw the first domino drop with Brent Boyer, and that's exactly what I want to get into, which is Brent Boyer was hired as the 49ers special teams coach. So from worst to first, okay, getting right into it. Sorry about that. From worst to first, after fielding one of the NFL's worst special teams units, the 49ers hired Brent Boyer to overhaul the group. Boyer built a strong special teams unit with the Jets. What changes will he bring to San Francisco, and can he elevate this struggling phase of the game? Now, the way I see it is we really, you know, let's not put it all on just last year or put it all on, you know, Brian Schneider. He wasn't here for 8 years, right? Our special teams have hereditarily been bad. Like, from coach to coach, from regime to regime, it's just been bad. And it's not for the lack of trying. We've had special teams guys come in. I mean, we can go as deep as, you know, what is the Akello Witherspoon days? You know, we can go as deep as, what is that? What's this guy? Dante Pettis, Richie James Jr. Then we had Ray McLeod had a cup of coffee and a sweet roll with us. Then we had Now we have Jacob Cowing is back there manning it. We've also tried our stint at kind of brute forcing the situation by putting stars back there. Debo's returned. Ayuk has returned. And really, we really haven't found a consistent returner just for anything, for kick returns, for punt returns. One of the biggest things for us on special teams is that we don't necessarily have an identity. I've always felt as though that our special teams is kind of the collection of the runoff of the talent that we have on the team, right? Yeah. Where it's like we have depth. We're really focused on our offense and our defense. And because we are so focused on that, by proxy, the special teams will be okay. They'll be fine, which is the farthest thing from the truth. Right now, we see teams that have that identity. Look at the Baltimore Ravens, for instance, right? Where this saves them games, right? This actually keeps them into contention in a lot of close-fought games in a nasty AFC East. One of the things...
Just to interject quickly on that is that Harbaugh started as a special teams coach, so that's something that he values highly.
Exactly. So let's just go ahead and kick it to you. What do you think about the hire? Wanted to just tee it up for you and preheat the oven. So get in here and cook, brother.
Okay.
What you got?
All right. Well, let's start with this. Boyer has gone through 3 coaching changes with the Jets where he remained after regime change. So that speaks to his ability that coaches just say, I'm going to change a lot in this team, but I like this special teams coach. I'm keeping him. And that speaks to his professionalism, his ability. And you go through it and you say, all right, last year was a mess for the Jets because they went through 5 kickers. It was just forget it.
Mm-hmm.
Prior to that, they were top 5 DVOA special teams in the league 5 years in a row. And 3 of those 5 years, they were second in the league. This is a coach that gets his teams ready to play and delivers. Their kick and punt return teams are both top 10 this year. They returned to kickoff for a touchdown. Niners haven't done that since 2018. 9 seasons as the Jets coordinator. They're tied for second in total touchdowns over that time, second in blocked punts. When's the last time the Niners blocked a punt? The Green Bay game with that Hufanga picked up, but it's been a while. Tied for 5th in special teams points scored. Opponent kickoff return average, they were also 5th. So one of the aspects that I like that's kind of overlooked, he does a great job in organizing his teams for coverage. That's something the Niners have been weak at for a long time. So I like what this guy brings to the table. One last note is there's a Jets content creator. He wrote to Steph Sanchez and said that he's willing to lay down money that Irv Charles is going to come over. He was the special teams ace and gunner for the special teams in New York. And this guy, as a Jets creator, thinks that Charles is going to come over to the Niners to join Boyer. He's a wide receiver by trade, but basically he's just a special teams guy. That's what he does, but he does it really well. If you're top 10 in the league in coverage, you have to have a great gunner. And apparently this guy is very good at it. So one thing that we can look for is for Irv Charles to come to the Niners.
One thing that I also want to look for is just consistency in the kicking game as well. You want somebody that you actually paid for to get in there and take over the decision. Last year, I'm going to shoot him some bail. Okay, I'm going to shoot him some bail, even though he had a crazy season. All right, but look, Jake Moody deserves another shot. Okay, he's a draft pick. All right, we've got equity in the move. He's a homegrown guy, and for what it's worth, part of the reason why he was bad this year is because he was injured, and that was because the kick coverage was absolutely horrible. Okay. Right. And he was put in a position that, quite frankly, no kicker should be in, taking on a runner full-fledged, and you're the last man in defense. Now, I get it. You got on pads, you got on a helmet, play football. All right. Everybody can't be Pat freaking McAfee. At the end of the day, part of that is due to the negligence of this special teams unit. Okay. I think that so for me, with special teams, it's a way to steal easy momentum in the game. right? It's caring about field position, right? The P's and Q's, understanding who needs to be on the field, all right? One of the things that you got to look at is special teams actually was a big factor in a lot of the games that we lost. A lot of the big returns that we gave up against the Rams, special teams, right? Fumbles, special teams, giving up what was that? What was that? The fourth down fake punt versus the Cardinals, special teams.
Yeah.
So it's time for us to kind of shore that up. I think the theme of this offseason, if I'm reading it correctly, especially with more, because we really don't have a full staff yet, right? There's still guys that are coming in, that are matriculating in. I think that the overall theme of this offseason, as far as the coaching staff is concerned, is I think Kyle is going to revamp managing these guys where, there was a time, when you get a good manager, after you guys pump through like about a good 2 years worth of great tasks, they leave you alone. They loosen up and they don't really check on you all the time. They understand Isaiah's got it, right? He's going to handle things. But one thing that I will say is that there's been a lot that's kind of flown under Kyle's nose, right? They've been having a really good time on his watch. And it was about time that Brian Schneider got up out of here. One of the things that kind of always struck me about the special teams unit is that they really didn't focus on it during practice. It's an afterthought.
You were there. You guys described it as basically a grammar school recess.
It was a water break.
That everybody was just moving around doing whatever they wanted to do. There was no organization, and there was no buy-in. That players just treated it as whatever. Let me go get some water.
Yeah. And the performance showed as much. I'm thrilled that he's here. He's also somebody that's going to be able to get some guys. One thing that I know about when new coaches come on, they always kind of have it's not so much as they get granted, but in a way, that's a part of the job. Like scouting is a really big part of coaching, right? And when you come onto a staff, it's not only what you know, but it's your Rolodex. Like, who is your network? Who can you bring here? Who do you know, right? Who can vouch for you, right? That's really the coaching game. It's really the work life, honestly. But in coaching, one of the biggest things is I suspect that we're going to see a lot of guys where, in our opinion, we're going to be thinking offense, defense, where does this guy belong? But if you really think about it from a special teams perspective, you're going to say, oh, no, this guy is here for special teams. Like, this is a returner for us. Oh, this is a guy that, he's a corner by trade, but let's look and see what he did at special teams during college. I think a lot of the evaluation of guys that are going to come to the 49ers, I think we need to start paying attention to what they did during special teams throughout their career in college. Because I think that'd be a good misnomer for guys that we're going to start picking, especially in the later rounds. I wouldn't see that in the earlier rounds, but the later rounds.
6th, 7th round, you're going to start to see guys where you say, who's he? And then you look it up and you say, oh, he's had 2 kickoff return touchdowns. He's had a punt return touchdown. I mean, there are guys who are going to be picked specifically for special teams performance late in the draft. So, we need to be on top of that and see who's there. Because you look at this roster and you say, okay, Cowing on punt returns, he's okay. He's nothing special. Debo on kick returns is good because he can utilize his long speed. But they need a punt returner. They need to add somebody there. And I think that adding someone with the credibility of Boyer, he's going to be able to come in the room and say in the 6th, 7th round, I need this guy. He's one of the best returners in the league or in the country, and bring that kid in. So we're going to need to start scouting, who's done well in special teams returns this year in the NCAA.
Yeah, I agree. You look at now there's only 2 teams left, but I really like to look at it when there's 4 teams left. You kind of get a bigger menu of what are the similarities of the teams that are all left in the league. There's a couple of things. One, all of them have offensive lines.
Dominant
all four teams have a dominant offensive line. You can't deny that. All right. 2, all of them have their trigger man. They all got their whatever you think about them, That's their guy, and there's no question about it. All right. 3, they all got defense. No, never mind. The Washington Commanders suck. But 3.
Well, the Commanders,
there's no way around that.
No, but they arrived early. They made it to the NFC Championship a year before they should have, and that just speaks to how well Jaden Daniels played this year.
Yeah. And also, I mean, not to kind of pettifog the Commanders, I just want to see what they do when the lights are on, when they get that real schedule, when it's like, okay, prime time. All right, we're not about to hear about your wins on a 1:00 afternoon, against like the Giants. Like, nah, we need to. It's going to be prime time. The lights are on. Let's see you win on Sunday night. When it's time to make money off you. So we'll see about the Commanders. And also, just to kind of bring Syntax back to the topic that we're talking about, they all have special teams, right? They all have returners. They all have an identity on special teams. And I think what we really need to do is kind of start building this team back up from the joints up, right? And part of that is special teams. So good topic. Let's go on to the next one, man. Right now, if we're looking at how things are rolling with the free agency. Now, Tom, I'm of the mindset that we need to be frugal in free agency. All right, bro. I'm not a big free agency guy, but we're going to go through the topic, right? And I want to hear what you got to say. Are there big moves coming, first of all? Let's get through to that. All right, before we get into the nitty-gritty.
I think there can be big swings. It's a question of if they're willing to do it or not. But let's get to first is what's your budget? That always defines what you can and can't do.
Right.
I talked with Jason Hurley, the cap guru for NinersCap.com, and he broke it down for me. Essentially, if the Niners let Hufanga go and they keep everybody you expect, so that's extensions for Purdy, Kittle, Fred, Juwan Jennings, they keep Jordan Mason, they re-sign Dre. If you do all of that and then you get the cap savings from the extensions for Warner and Kittle, which are surprisingly $23.7 million. You add all that into all the cap stuff, what you get on the other side, they have $50 to $55 million in cap room to spend on outside free agents if they choose to do so. So they've got the money that they can go after some people and take some big swings. And the question becomes, will they? And the first one that comes out for everybody, and you've said this, and you're right, Drew Dahlman, the Falcons center. He's 26 years old. He's starting to hit his prime as a veteran. He can be around for a long time. He's the son of a former Niner and Chris Dahlman. He went to Stanford. He has all the pedigree you would want. He's a proven veteran. The question is, will Kyle get sticker shock when he has Drew Dahlman 4 years, $46 million? What Shanahan has done in the past, he did value center in the past. So Weston Richburg got $7 million 1 year. Alex Mack got $5 million back in 2022. Is Kyle willing to spend $11.5 million per year on Drew Dahlman? We don't know. If he is, I think that's a very shrewd and smart move because you're getting a veteran that can hit the ground running and play well. And as Caron points out, the weakest position on the whole team, arguably, is Jake Brendel. You get Drew Dahlman, you've solved that. But the other benefit in all this is if you bring in Dahlman, you no longer have to use a draft pick at center. You free up. And that's something that free agency is going to have to do because this team has so many positional needs that you get to, especially the 43rd pick, the 75th pick, there's 7-8 positions you're looking at. You need to take some of those positions away so that you can focus on what you need and have a complete team solution for all of the holes. Because right now, everybody has their favorites in the draft. If I want this guy, I want that guy. The way that you get rid of that is by signing free agents that start and plug that hole and you're done. And then you can focus on other positions. That's part of the value of free agency. And it's part of the argument for Dahlman. because the center need is so huge that do you really want to use a second round pick on somebody at center or a third? Why not spend that on Dahlman so you don't even have to pick a center, period? And you get a better player, a veteran, and he's only 26. Do it. Will Kyle do that? We'll see.
Dahlman's a no-brainer for me. It completely changes the offense right away. We immediately get a balanced run game. That's one. Brock keeps people out of his lap. Drew Dahlman is hands down the best center that we would have had since Kyle has been here. Full stop. He's even better than Alex Mack at the period of at Alex Mack's period of his career. So that's no shade to Alex Mack, but for what Alex Mack was, that's how good Dahlman is. Honestly, I would love to get this guy, but if we don't, I'm gonna listen. All right, so I believe Matt Mayoko came out and said out of his own mouth that he thinks that the Niners are going to start targeting Drew Dahlman to come to the Niners.
Well,
right?
He thinks that it would be a good idea if they signed it. So it's coming from his own projection. It's just his idea. It's not something that he has heard. But with Mayoko floating it as the dean of the 49er beat writers and somebody that often has a connection to the Niners, it's encouraging that Mayoko is floating this idea. We know it's something that they're going to read and that they're going to value and say, Mayoko is saying we need to do this. And hopefully that gets them to take another look at it. Now, me and my jaded view of Kyle Shanahan, I'm Dikembe Mutombo when it comes to people suggesting Drew Dahlman. It's Kyle Shanahan. It's the dollar store of GMs when it comes to purchasing an O-line in free agency. He's not going to do it. But you've got a lot of different circumstances now. We've got all these teams that made the Final Four in the NFL based on dominance at the offensive line. Kyle is going to have to think about, how do I optimize Brock Purdy? I'm going to spend all this money on Purdy. One of the best ways I can optimize him is to give more money in free agency to a veteran that can hit the ground running. There's so many reasons why a free agent investment makes sense. I'm hopeful that because they're extending Purdy, it's something they'll look at more than they have in the past.
Okay. So I got some names to throw at you. So Drew Dahlman is awesome. For me, that's the logical pick. That's what they should do. That would help. That would also do? Take so much pressure off of them in the draft. Like, you get Drew Dahlman, and it's like, man, we can get a guard. We'll just get a guard. I would feel okay if they kick the can on the tackle situation. There's only really 2 to 3 good tackles in this in this year's draft. So I wouldn't even be mad if they moved on from tackle and said, look, we got Drew Dahlman. We can find a great guard in the 3rd or 4th round. We did it just this past draft. I wouldn't be mad at that at all. But there are some guys that they could take a swing at, right? So we know that Javarius
topic, but
right. But we know that, hold on, no, as far as free agents is what I mean,
okay.
not draft guy. I'm not gonna, I got you, brother. Tom over here, chill out, Tom.
Chill, dude.
Yeah, man. Tom was quick at it. He was like, hey, watch out. So look,
because I made that mistake a lot. I just whatever.
Nah, you're good, brother. So what I was getting into is some potential free agents outside of Dahlman, right? They may go left on us. They may take a turn that we don't see, right? Javarius Ward is pretty much gone this year, right?
Yeah, and he said why, and it makes sense. It's just there's too many ghosts in the locker room for him.
Hey,
I understand entirely.
Listen, man, that's not even a discussion. Like, the way he eloquently laid out what he's going through mentally in a real way. Hey, man, no love loss. Do your thing, man. Peace be with you, brother. Do what you got to do.
Exactly.
It's bigger than football.
Take care of your family. Family comes
Take care of yourself, your mental health, and your family. 100%. Godspeed to Javarius Ward. Whatever he chooses to do, not an issue. But there is a hole there, right? It's vacant. Possibly Dante Jackson from Pittsburgh. What do you think?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know if he's at the level that you would need and want.
Mm-hmm.
Given that where you want to go is the NFC Championship, do you need to shoot higher than that? But he's more affordable than what's been rumored, which is DJ Reed. And Reed is 3 years, $42 million, $14 million per for Reed. That's expensive. But
Yeah.
he's somebody that Saleh knows and trusts. And so Saleh might push for it. And if the Niners were already looking in that direction, then they hire Saleh. I think that adds some weight to the DJ Reed rumor. I wouldn't go there, but I think that it's a possibility.
Right. I think the biggest thing for me is just trying to figure out what direction they're going to go into, because that would then shape the draft for us, especially, once we see how free agency rolls out. There's also some other offensive linemen that they possibly could look at. Tevin Jenkins, guard out of Chicago. That's something that they may be able to get into that could fix our left guard issue. And then we can go into the draft looking at center. I've fallen in love with Drew Kendall out of Boston College. I think he just fits. I think he fits us. That's why I like him so much. Personally, I like a bigger, more stout, haunchier center. But you got to be where your feet are. And I'm not going to look at a player that is just not a scheme fit, because this regime has shown time and time again they're going to go with scheme over talent all the time. They're always going to go with scheme over upside. That's just what they do.
Right.
And
in
with
terms,
that,
quickly, I'm sorry, in terms of Tevin Jenkins, I don't think that they would go there. They
Mhm.
had the positive experience of Dominic Pooney. And so I think that if they go guard, that's the pick that they'll make. The one offensive lineman they'll select if they sign Dahlman is a guard. That would be my hope, is sign Dahlman, draft a guard. And that would be my plan for offensive line. I share your opinion on the tackles. So we'll see how it shakes out. But I think that Jenkins would be something that Kyle would say, no, we can do similar in the draft, given what Pooney did last year. I think they're going to value what Pooney did and use that as a blueprint. That'll be a model for them.
Awesome. Hey, let's play a little bit of rapid fire, man. We got some time to play around.
Okay.
Pause. All right. So what? So let's figure out some possible guys out there. Could the Niners take a swing at Danielle Hunter?
Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
I think that given what they've gone through in terms of bringing in Leonard Floyd, et cetera, they haven't really nailed the veteran free agent edge signing. And you look at Saleh and say, okay, what's his plan at edge? He wants a speed designated pass rusher like Will McDonald. So you're looking at somebody that's got pure speed. And I think that you can get that in this draft, but you have to value it because it'll be gone. It's just, who do you want? There are some pure speed designated rushers that can be had in third, fourth, maybe the early fifth that you could go get. But I think that if they really want to get a pure speed edge, that it would need to be somebody that they get second, third, fourth.
Okay.
Fourth at the latest. But we know what Saleh wants. He wants pure speed, get off edge. He wants Will McDonald.
You think you got me? You think you got me? I got some more names for you.
Bring him.
All right. Okay. So I swung out at DB. I'm gonna leave DB. We're not gonna go Holland. We already know that's pie in the sky. I would love Holland out of Miami, free safety. I think that would be an amazing pick, but you're looking at probably $18 million a year. He really wants his money. I don't think that's too big of a swing for the Niners.
Well, PFF had him at 19.5. Yeah.
Come on, man.
Can't do that.
That's ridiculous.
Much as I love the guy, you can't do that.
You can't do that, man. All right, so we got one more time. I got one more for you, man.
Ready.
It's time for us to get into the tight end side of things. The Niners need a tight end too. We can't keep living off the check life that is the legendary career of George Kittle. At some point, we got to back the man up. All right? Now, we had certain guys that came in here. They didn't do well. All right? You had Ross Dwelly. Come on. All right? Who's the other kid? The kid from Georgia. Oh, come on, we're gonna go there. Who's the kid from Georgia who got that boatload of money in Atlanta? Who's that kid?
Oh, Kyle Pitts.
No, not Kyle Pitts. The kid, the white kid that we had.
Oh.
He's Atlanta's new tight end. He used to be our tight end. He played at UGA.
Yeah, I forget.
Come on, dude. You don't remember this guy's name? You forgot him that much. That's how That's how forgettable he is.
Well, all of these guys.
Charlie Warner.
Charlie Warner, thank you. Yeah.
Come on.
But come on.
A block of wood. Nothing.
I haven't heard that term before. That's hilarious.
Come on. Cam Latu. Nothing doing. Cam Latu. We gotta get a guy that absolutely is just a tight end too. We're not, you know how bad these guys are? We weren't even asking them to be starters. Like, we just want you to be the backup. Can you back me up? Huh? Can you back me up?
Well, they're so bad. Who's the real tight end two on this team? Juszczyk.
Come on, bro. That's where the money's coming from.
Right. And that's where money is being wasted. 40% of his snaps are at tight end, and you got a fullback there? No. You need a tight end two there. Now, here's the thing. You can say go free agency, but the best free agent tight end is like 28? They're not going to do that. They're going to say, look at this tight end class. It's loaded, and it is. Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, Elijah Arroyo, Mason Taylor. They're going to take a tight end, and they're going to take him early, and people are going to be pissed because the guy that they want him to pick, the position they want, is going to be ignored because they take the tight end. But the fact is they need the tight end. They need the tight end too. They need a second receiver, and you've got Kittle's 31, and you're not playing 12 personnel when you should. They need to dump Juszczyk, and rumor is that they might June 1 designate him. If they do that, then that's with the assumption that they're going to draft a tight end. And this is a loaded tight end class. They're going to take one. But people are going to hate the fact that they're going to take a tight end early. He's going to go possibly at 43, more likely at 75. And people.
All right, well, let's get into the draft topic because you're just not coming up for air, Tom. I mean, Lord, come on, man.
I said order.
Come on, man.
Order in the court.
Calm down, Tom. Relax. Goodness.
That is great stuff.
Give you an inch, you take a mile.
Indeed.
Get a little bit of rope, and now you're Long John, you're a cowboy. Calm down, Roy Rogers. We're trying to get to the next topic, sir. And you've already all but started it. So let's go.
Me and Trigger are already there.
Already there. So let's get into it. Hey, we're going draft. All right. And we're going with prospects. Early risers and hidden gems. All right. The Senior Bowl practices have wrapped up and new names are emerging on the draft radar. Which prospects helped their stock? Who are potential draft 49ers targets? Plus, we break down the importance of the 30 visit phase in the pre-draft scouting phase. So what we need to do is also explain to those who don't know what 30 visits are. What basically 30 visits are is every team is delineated a set number of visits that they can have with one-on-one, let's call them in-depth interviews with potential candidates that they know are about to be drafted. You only get 30 apiece for all 32 teams, and these are said to be some of the most important guys that teams must know about before or if they pick them. So with that, there's a couple of guys that have emerged, all right, that we have been talking about. All right, you got Mike Green out of Marshall. All right, that's a guy. Okay, you got some names, but let's stick with the 11th overall pick, the pick that matters, the first one. Okay, and before we get into it, there's a guy that everybody knows. We've all been talking about him, but Tom is the first guy to tell me that this is the man that the Niners should be drafting at 1. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to give Tom the floor. And we're going to let Tom get into it. All right. So right now, what I need to do right now is get into what the first round pick should be. Tom, go. I'll take care of the rest.
Okay. The guy that I want is Walter Nolen, the defensive tackle from Ole Miss. Here's why. He's the one pass rusher in this draft that has pass rushing talent. That's unique. That's rare. Everybody else, in terms of their pass rushing ability, great in some cases as run stuffers. Nolen is the one guy that's a legitimate pass rushing defensive tackle that has an elite get off, explosive off the line speed, and here's everything. Explosive first step, yeah. Rare flexibility. He's got the agility of an edge at a defensive tackle. His body is very similar to Quinnen Williams. The frame is almost exactly the same. Violent hands, impressive lateral quickness, relentless motor. He's always going. All of that is absolutely true. We'll have to see what 40 he runs at Indy. That's going to be a key thing. Quinnen Williams ran 4.8. Nolen is a little bit slower. He doesn't finish as well. Nolen needs to add some more power to his frame. He can have some struggles in finishing. Right now he's at 293. Williams was at like 305. He needs to add some of that muscle so that he can finish and do well there. But he's got everything else. There are other people where you can point to their stats and say they've got sacks. Yes, Derek Harmon in Oregon. No first step, 0. He's quick to react to the snap, but he's not explosive off the line at all. A lot of sacks at Oregon, but he doesn't have that first step. Chris Kasarik is going to say, I don't know. So I think that Nolen is the guy. There's a lot of people that saw him live at Mobile and were just blown away. And I think that that's going to continue. The film that I watched of Nolen all year, I was always impressed by him. He's always going. He's always disruptive. You look at Saleh's defenses, and it's DeForest Buckner, Quinnen Williams. It's the two-way defensive tackle that's the centerpiece of his defense. That's what you need first. And if you have that, you can collapse the pocket and then set up the edges to close. So he's the piece that they need. I would be disappointed if they can't get Nolen. I understand if he might go above them. I think that he could. I have him ranked ahead of Mason Graham in what I saw, but that's my take. That's my bias, is that I want pass rushing skills, and I think Nolen has that. I think he's the pick. I think he's who Saleh would want. He's who Saleh would be reminded of with Quinnen Williams. To me, he's the guy.
Hey, you gotta love it, Tom. I couldn't have just a beautiful job, Tom. Beautiful job.
Thanks, Coach.
Explosive player, chaotic player. Watched 4 games on him last night. I got some pushbacks, and
Okay.
I want you to defend your client, sir.
Will do.
One of the things about him is that he plays with exceptional pad level for his height at 6'3". But a lot of that is due to explosiveness on initial contact. Good offensive linemen are not going to let you tee off on them in the NFL. They're not just going to be targets for you to blast through every time, all right? One of the biggest things that I've noticed in college is that when you get a guy as aggressive as Walter Nolen, a lot of times he could just bully his way. That's one thing I love about him. He's got a great churn, awesome feet, drives and generates power through his hips, and has a relentless motor, as we put up in the graphic. But in our defense, you got to keep your gap. You got to play gap integrity, and you can't always be a superstar because you got one of the best linebackers in the NFL playing behind you, and you got to have gap discipline. One thing about him is that he does show occasional lapses in gap discipline when hunting for splash plays. He gets greedy. When he gets a weak body and he knows that he's got a mark in front of him, one thing that I do like about him is that he's a bit of a show punny. He will embarrass you again and again and again. Yeah. And it's rare that you get that type of drive, that type of prey drive in players anymore. Most guys they know they can beat you. They're going to beat you on downs where they know it matters, right? That's not Walter Nolen. If Walter Nolen sees a bone, he's going to whittle it down until it's dust. That's just what it is, all right? Sometimes they may play that against him. How many games have we played against tip of the spear defensive linemen, particularly 3 techniques, where we've played Aaron Donald and played around him, right? Used his strength against him, used his own aggressiveness against him. My biggest thing for Walter Nolen is that where is his mental? What's his IQ? All right. We already got the box checked on the physicality. Good. We got the box checked on the temperament. Good. We got the box checked on the drive and the endurance. Way to go. Talent moves off the charts. But what are we going to do when somebody forces this dude to change his game? Because that's the league.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. No,
That's the
that's
league.
absolutely. That's very well said. One of
Right.
the weaknesses for Nolen is that he doesn't have the arsenal yet. He needs
Mm-hmm.
to add a lot of moves. He's relying a lot on
On a
his
bull
physical
rush.
on his physical leverage. If just
Mm-hmm.
on the bull rush and also his quickness, that he can take advantage of his agility to get penetration, get in, get stops beyond the line.
Mm-hmm.
So he needs to get coached up by Kasarik. You're supposed to be the get off champion. Okay. Coach this kid so that he plays lower and still has some kind of game plan. Because right now his game plan is I just read who I'm going against and how I can beat him physically, and that's what I do. You can get away with that in college. You can't get away with that in the NFL. So I would agree that he plays too high, he stands up, and that he doesn't have a game plan or the arsenal of moves that he's going to need. But the most important thing that you can get in the draft is the clay. You get the physical clay, you can mold it. He's got the clay in spades. He has everything you would want physically. You just have to coach him. So I think that what Nolan needs in terms of succeeding in the league, physically, he's already there. It's just that mentally, he needs to get a lot better in his game plan and in learning how to beat people in ways outside of his physicality. The other weakness that I think he's got is he doesn't locate the ball carrier well. His vision is poor. And when he's trying to locate somebody, he's slow in his pursuit. So that's another problem is that he needs to be coached on to where to expect the runner to be and go get him. Because once
Mm-hmm.
he's got the target to go after, he can go get him. He can close him down. He's got the speed to do it. It's just that mentally, he needs to get to a point where he can play instinctively. Once he gets to that, he's going to be a beast.
I love that. I love that. I love that explanation. Frisco Shields comes in and says, so he needs to learn to play down the line instead of always going for the penetration. No, I think if we wanted to be technical, he needs to learn how to give counter moves. Right? Offensive linemen are not just going to let you win with one move, and very rarely do you win with one move as a defensive tackle in the NFL. You're going to have to be able to stack your moves together. All right, set your moves up. This isn't more of a listen. I understand that the lore to this kid is the physicality, right? But once you step up, that's going to get muddied down a little bit. He's just not going to be whooping ass every play of every game. He's going to have to hone his skills and actually become a pro. So really, the biggest delta to cross with Walter Nolen is he willing to kind of put down the axe and pick up a scalpel? Is he ready to hone his skills? Is he ready to pick up counter moves outside of his bull rush? Is he going to stay in this gap and understand that, yes, I can blow this offense, I can blow this guard 10 yards into the backfield, but in the NFL, that's just a gap that I missed because I'm all the way in the back and I'm already in the backfield and I'm not keeping any lane integrity, right? Or is he just, and you know what's going to be bad about this is that if he is that type of player, they're going to call him selfish when he gets to the league because being a professional is about not only doing the best that you can do, but also playing with those around you and playing on defense, especially at the 3 technique. You got to finish your breakfast. You got to handle your P's and Q's before you can be an all-star. So that's my biggest cross to bear with Walter Nolen is he a pro? Can he be precise? Right? Can he hone all of that power, that rage, that athleticism into a specified way, right? You know when Cyclops from X-Men, this is gonna be a weird analogy, but remember when Cyclops didn't have his glasses and and the power was going all over the place, right? He needed the glasses, Tom. He needed the glasses.
He needed the sight to have a plan, and that's what
Yes.
Nolan needs. And my hope is that you're Robert Saleh. You say, okay, this is the kid I want. He reminds me of Quinnen Williams, and that's your message to Nolan. I have coached up Quinnen Williams into an All-Pro. You have the same body type. You have the same game. I now want to coach you to become that player. To do that, you're going to have to become a lot more refined and polished than you are right now. You're going to have to rely on technique over physicality in order to win some of these. And you need to play as a group in a final four or in the front four. And especially in the wide 9, gap integrity is going to be even more important. So he's going to have to. The argument that I've seen in the chat, some people say 6'3". Quinnen Williams is 6'3". He's an all-pro. And he did everything you would ever want. Quinnen Williams also has 24 sacks in 3 years. Walter Nolen can do that. Nolen has 13 sacks in 2 years. He's got the ability. He just needs to get the moves. He needs to be basically programmed by Saleh and Kasarik into what he needs to do, what he needs to execute.
Definitely. And I'll tell you this. I mean, he's a generational guy. I would say that there's only one way that you mess this up is that if you don't draft him. If we got him, in my opinion, he's one of those players where if you mess it up, somebody's getting fired because he's that talented of a player.
Right. Yeah.
That he's that talented of a player. Now, it's time. Like we geeked out on Tom's guy. All right. And now it's time for me to talk about the man that I want the Niners to draft at 11. Okay.
Okay. He's my number 2, if that helps any.
James Pearce Jr. Okay. 6'5". Come on, man. 243, 4'4", 940. Niners fans, if you want a speed rusher, if you want speed, if you want relentless speed, all right? Somebody that can get off the line, first step explosion off the edge, remarkable bend, all right? This kid is 6'5", flexible. All right, he doesn't look 6'5" when he plays. That's how flexible he moves. Natural instincts, okay? This is a guy that wins on the inside. This is a guy that wins with up and unders, shows speed to power, needs to work on his power, okay? But a guy that if you do not have basic fundamental pass protection skills as an offensive lineman, he will embarrass you, okay? This is a kid that flies all over the field. He is a defensive lineman, but make no mistake about it. He is all over the field, every blade of grass. There is not a play that he cannot get into. I don't care if it's a pass play 30 yards down the field. He's flying, okay? This is a force on the field. Closing speed to finish plays.
Got that.
Stop, Tom. Stop.
Yeah. He's got all the skills. All the skills.
And his specialty.
He's got an arsenal. Yeah.
Come on. Go ahead. Go ahead, Tom. Go.
No, go. You go.
And his specialty is his diagnosis of screen plays, man. This kid does not lose on screens. He does not lose on screens. I'm going to tell you, this is somebody that you have to game plan for as an offense, all right? He's not enough. This is the thing. You get a pass rusher, it's like, all right, stick a tight end over there, chip him with the back, all right, get the ball out quick, run to his side to slow him down, muddy up his pass rush. You can work on him, all right? This is a kid where even if the pass rush ain't working that day, you still got to worry about him in the flat. You still got to worry about him in space, in the hook and the flat, and in the hook and curl. You have to worry. This guy is a problem. He's a junior. All right. At 6'5", 43, he brings a rare combination of length and explosiveness to the field. I'm going to tell you. And then also, we get exactly what Coach Saleh has said, as rumored. We're not going to say he said this, but it's rumored that Coach Saleh wants more speed on the field. This is a guy that I believe that of Abdul, I love. Now, let's get this out the way. Abdul Carter, for me, I mean, Christmas in the spring for me. If we get Abdul Carter, hey, listen, there's a reason why we're not talking about Abdul Carter.
Yeah, he's gone by 4.
Yeah, there's a reason why we're not talking about Abdul Carter because he's out of here. There's no way he's dropping to 11. Okay, so we got to start looking exactly what we're doing. Okay, and I think that Warren Nolen, okay, Walter Nolen, and James Pearce Jr. are real picks at 11 that I would be okay with. Now let's get into some weaknesses. Yeah. Okay. All right. He lacks ideal play strength at the point of attack. All right. he gets to the right building. He just can't get to the right floor. All right. And the problem is that he needs to gain some weight. He needs to get a little bigger. All right.
Exactly.
Okay.
But
One
he
thing
has
about
the
it,
frame for it. He's long.
he's long. He's got the frame to put on weight. Okay. This kid can gain 10 at 6'5". Okay. At 6'5", at 22 years old. All right. He's got the frame to put on 10 to 15 pounds easily. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And I'll take a 4.5. Give me a 10th off the old 40. I'll take it. All right. One thing about it is that he's got to improve his ability to stack and shed quickly against longer offensive tackles who can get their hands on him first. That's his weakness. His biggest weakness is when he goes against tackles that are his size. All right. Right. So if he gets the 6'6s, right, the Rosengartens and the 6'7s, right, that's when you get a guy where it's like, all right, brother, not only can I cover the same space that you can, all right, I'm just as big as you, but I'm packing a punch too. So what else you got? So his biggest thing is simply getting stronger. That's the only thing that he will work on. And that's not something that would keep him off the field now, right?
No,
That's something that would make him from very good to elite, all right? And I believe that this is somebody that if we were at 11 and James Pearce Jr. came rolling across the ticker, I wouldn't be upset. What do you think, Tom?
I love all of that and agree with all of that. The one thing he lacks is physicality at the point of attack. He doesn't finish well. He can have some problems finishing. When he finishes, it's usually a product of his speed. Now, as you said, he's great at speed to power, and so that's how he finishes. But if he had that power in addition, he would be just unstoppable. And I think that he's already got a lot of great moves. He just needs to develop counters to the counter kind of stuff. He can be coached up on that. But the main thing is that you can count on this guy to play a lot of downs. He's not just a third round guy or a third down guy at all. And as you pointed out, he's very good on screens. He's good in coverage, period. And so
Yes.
he's somebody that you can use if you want to have simulated blitzes and simulated pressure and disguised coverages. You can use Pearce as a linebacker. His skills are that good in coverage. Now, mainly that's near the line of scrimmage, but he's a weapon in that role in that area of the field. And I think that's something they can build on. I don't think he's great, but I think that he's good in terms of dealing with that area. That doesn't mean that I think he can cover tight ends anytime soon, but it does mean that if you've got something wide that hits quickly, he can go make the play and stop that. And he's got the IQ to know it's coming. And that's a huge thing. I love his IQ. I love his field awareness, that he knows what's going on around him and he can react accordingly. And he's got the speed to do it and the agility and speed to power. So yeah, add 10, 15 pounds of muscle, and this guy is just a wrecking ball. He'd be great.
One thing that I'll tell you that we're going to get right off the bat as soon as we get him, just taking the package off, we're going to get a 3-down edge rusher. We don't have that on the team outside of Leonard Floyd. All right. That's what we get immediately with him.
He's not really a 3-down edge rusher anyway. He's just he's forced into that role because they don't have an alternative. Pearce would be a guy that you can play all 3 downs. And as he adds that weight and power, he becomes a weapon for you in all phases of the game.
He immediately speeds up the defense too. He immediately speeds up the defense as well. I mean, can you imagine Fred playing with this kid? One thing about him is that one thing that's really going to shock you when you watch his film is just how flexible he is. Like literally parallel with the turf, bending down to get past tackles. I mean, his bend at 6'5", at 6'2", his bend would be that the type of bend that he has would be elite. I just think that, defensively, I want to go bang for the buck. I understand that Abdul Carter is like, apex predator. He's the guy. I get it.
Sure.
But if they got James Pearce Jr., not only do we solve a huge problem with, having a real elite pass rush guy, but we also bring a lot of versatility with the defense. And that's the biggest thing about our defense is that we've been vanilla, straight up and down, no specials. You know what I'm saying? So
none.
I think getting a kid like this speaks to, teams coming to see the 49ers where it's like, yeah, they run that wide 9, but they got some dudes that can do some shit. You know, it is not just they may be basic in infrastructure, but every guy that they have on the field is multifaceted, and you got to really pay attention to what these guys are going to do that day.
And they're dominant. You know, that's the one thing that I want most from 11. Make sure you've got a player that's dominant, a player that's going to keep the defensive coordinator or the offensive coordinator up all night saying, how do I deal with this guy? That's what you want. You want someone that generates fear in the opposing coordinator. Pearce does that. Nolen does that. Not everybody else does that. You have to value that. So if they got Nolen or Pearce, I would be happy. I want Nolen, but Pearce as the backup option, I'm good. Either one of those, I'm thrilled.
Hey,
Now,
man.
If Nolen is on the board and Pearce is on the board and they draft Kelvin Banks, I'm going to jail.
I've had an awakening about Kelvin Banks. Let me tell. Listen.
You know I didn't like him.
I'm sorry for those who evaluate. I'm sorry. Kelvin Banks. He fooled me. Okay, he fooled me. He has really good feet.
Yeah.
Excellent. Elite. He's got very good feet. Athletic. All right. Flexible. But the way he lunges at defenders, when defensive line coaches see that key on him, I don't think he could play tackle in the league. He's a guard.
No, and there's a lot of evaluators that are coming to that conclusion now, not just because he has short arms, but because he lunges and because he holds his hands too wide. It invites abuse.
Yeah, look, man, I think I don't want to bash a kid during the greatest interview of his life, but I just think that Kelvin Banks is a guard. I don't think he's a left tackle. He's a very athletic kid, very promising guy, but you don't pick a guard at 11. I think that, you know, we got to go back to we got to go back to, you know, what we come from. And that's the defensive front, the 7 front. We got to get to the 7-man front. We got to handle that.
Right. Well, and beyond that, we also have to take what the draft gives you. Last year, they didn't do that very well. You had a historic draft at tackle and center. You took Pooney. You know, this year, you've got a historic draft at D tackle and arguably at running back and at least in the top end of the draft, tight end. You have to use what the draft gives you. That's how you optimize your picks. Don't just say, well, we need this guy at this position at X. No. Who's the best player available? Who gives us dominance at this pick? And that's where I think at 11, they have to say, that's Nolen or Pearce. It's not anyone else.
Hey, man, you heard it here first. It's Nolen or Pearce, in our opinions. Nobody else. Those are the only 2 guys that we feel comfortable with picking at 11. All right?
Yeah.
Argue with your congressman. All right, so let's get back. I kid. So look, let's get back to the last topic of the show. All right. Right now, we need to start talking about the ultimate 49ers fantasy. Pause, no Diddy. All right. I just realized that this topic is a little shady. All right. But look, I'm going to set it up. Dream scenario for a diehard if you could have a once-in-a-lifetime experience as a 49ers fan. Sideline passes, dinners with the player, or even calling a play. What's your ultimate dream opportunity? All right, so look, that's a little bit of that's some of the things that you can do, but Tom is going to contextualize this a little bit more. So go ahead, Tom.
Well, I thought it'd be fun to go with this one. You get a dusty old bottle at Christmas. You clean it up a little bit. Out pops a genie wearing a Jerry Rice jersey. He says, "Coach, I'm a subscriber. I love the live watch parties. You're great." And he says, "Okay, dude, I'm going to set you up. I'm going to make you Earth's first trillionaire. Here's your money. 2 conditions. You have to buy the Niners, and you have to keep them in the Bay. Anything else you want to do, do. stadium, coach, GM, roster, uniforms, what you want to do around the stadium, everything. Go. Do. Be.
All right. Number one, we're making sure that the team stays in the Bay 100%. The first thing that I'm doing is we're setting up a plan where we're giving ownership back to the city. Okay. So we're setting up a program where we're giving up stocks of the team where the entire city can own the team again. Well, not again, but finally. All right. So we're going to have a city-owned team.
So you're going to go like the Packers. Wow.
We're going Packers, dog. We're going Packers. All right. We're going old Roman Coliseum, dog. We're fighting it out. Okay. All right. Democracy wins. So that's the first thing I'm doing. I'm giving it to the fans. All right. Secondly, I'm changing the PR team. All right. Number one, fans, if you come from a reputable source of any type of medium, and we can look at your content and you give straight and honest content, no matter how hard or soft you give it, you're getting a press pass, buddy. And we're going to rotate them. Okay. You get to come in here and ask your questions. You get to sit down and have a ball. All right. Now that's the blank check scenario of it all. The first thing that I would do is I would go ahead and just elevate the developmental side of the team. All right. I think that this is the only thing that truly works with the team, honestly, is our ability to develop late and be able to find guys who can help this team. What are Niners? Okay. So the biggest thing is I would give autonomy to the developmental staff. Some of these guys that had been with the staff for 20, 30 years, they need raises, and they've shown what they've done with this team. Right. So that's one of the things that I would do integrally. I would start promoting within guys who have been here for a long time. First order of business, so I'm putting Kyle on the hot seat. I'm giving him 2 years. Look, you got 2 years to get it done. All right. I'm Jerry Krauseing you. Even if you make it to the playoffs, you're gone. All right. It's enough. Presidents don't get longer than 8 years. You shouldn't either. All right. That's another thing that we're doing. Secondly, we're dumping the wide 9. I'm sorry. I'm over it. Okay. It's time to go back to the 34. It's time to go back to the 3-4. That's what I love. Okay. All right. We need to get back to the Vic Fangio style of defense. We need to be able to. The reason why I love the 3-4 because it allows you to put the best athletes possible on the field. All right. And that's what I want to do. I want to put the best athletes possible on the field. And I want to put the onus on the coaches to figure it out. Not us going to go shop for guys and get recipes for guys. No, I want to go get the best guys available. So that's what I would do on defense. Offensively, I would stick with the run game. Okay. I would definitely change the offense. We're done with the wide zone because I feel like you can pick from it. You don't have to be married to it because it's a scheme. It's not an offense. So you can still place from the wide zone, and we can very much run inside and outside zone, just like rest of the teams do the rest of the league. But we're going back to a gap scheme offense. We are running the damn ball, and we're running West Coast offense. I don't care. It's the oldest offense, but it works. We're running West Coast, okay? And we're running gap scheme, and we're running duo, and we're running body on body, and we're running veer, okay? And we're gonna get 350-pound tackles, and we're gonna get 500-pound guards, and we are gonna run the damn ball, okay? Honestly, in all seriousness, the Eagles' offensive line is I'm envious of that line. And it's not just what they look like with all 5 guys there. Newsflash, their offensive line was banged up in the NFC Championship game. Yeah. Jurgens was out, had to come in. Landon Dickerson was coming in at center. He had to go out, was limping with his knees. Steen was in that guard. He had to come out. So they weren't at their best, and they still found a way to get it done because it's not necessarily what the best of their 5 do, which you can count on all the time. But what really stuck out to me is that it's their culture. It's their culture. The backup it's not because he's a backup because he's bad. It's a backup because he's just not ready. He could play. And when it's time for him to get his name called, he's going to come up here and play. We don't have a backup guard like Steen. Steen would start for us immediately. And he sat the bench the entire season for Philly. So one of the things is that we need to start getting back into who we are, our run team, our run game. All right. Also, I would kind of start going after better backs. I like Jordan Mason, but Jordan Mason wasn't necessarily celebrated. Like, it's not as if he was given the keys to the car and it's like, we leaned on him. It took hella high water for him to finally get on the field as a backup guy that they just kind of liked. Guys like Jordan Mason are guys that should start on our team. All right. We need downhill runners. We need to be able to show up week in and week out where if anything's going to work, it's going to be our run game and being able to stop the run. That's what I really care about first as far as football is concerned. Like, we need to be able to stop the run and run the ball, and you don't do that with neglecting the offensive line. Also, I would kind of ditch our modus operandi on the fullback. We don't necessarily need one, in my opinion. I think we can move on from it, especially if Kyle is still here. I would do all of this stuff with Kyle because I would force him to show that he can adapt. I would force it on him. I wouldn't fire Kyle and let him off the hook where he can just kind of go off and we have to clean up his mess. No, I'd keep Kyle and put him on the clock, and I do all of this stuff with Kyle here and say, all right, well, you can't say you don't got a run game. You can't say you don't got a defense. Well, it's not my defense. So it wasn't Wilkes' defense. You fired him after 1 year.
Yeah.
So, that's what I would do. One of the biggest things that I would also do as far as like infrastructure is concerned is we can't do it, but I don't really like the stadium. I've been there twice. It's not anything to write home about. You can't uproot an entire stadium, but what you can do is you can work on some infrastructure things like the entire medical staff can go. They need to go. I would move on from them. I would get better facilities. I've kind of seen, just kind of clips around the building, and it doesn't look impressive. It doesn't look new. It looks kind of traditional, if I'm being polite. But I would give a whole revamp to the inside of the building. I mean, these guys are players, and it looks like they got a locker room with, felt carpet over concrete floors in there. So I would kind of upgrade the entire locker room. I just think that the Niners, one thing about it is that in a sense, it's like, I'm a Bama fan, right? And Bama's, one of the most traditional teams in college football. But even they find ways to revamp and streamline and upgrade, but still keep their culture, right? And still be the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think that the Niners have a really big issue with holding on to their tradition and holding on to their, their culture, their brand, but repurposing that into the new century. Like, we're kind of outdated and old. And in a sense, a lot of that is cool, but when it comes time to compete, you can see how we're behind organizationally. You see how we're behind as far as in the draft, what we go after. And that's why the first thing that I said is I would elevate whoever is in the developmental staff, is because you could see once everybody gets done pushing buttons and pulling levers and they're not interested with the draft anymore, the hard work of the draft starts taking over. And those are all of the guys where you find your Fred Warners and your George Kittles, and you know what I'm saying? This is where we find these guys. So I'll tell you, outside of like doing anything drastic, like completely like my biggest drastic move, if I could do, you said I'm a trillionaire, right?
Yeah, you got all the money you need.
Oh, I'm definitely getting rid of the stadium.
Yeah,
for sure. I forgot I'm a trillionaire. I'm definitely getting rid of the stadium. The stadium's gone. And the stadium, you know what? And we're either going back to Kezar or we're going back to Candlestick. Where do you want to go? I you know what? I put a poll out. For the fans. Where do you guys want to go? And I'd have a party for the demolition of the stadium. And I know everybody would show up.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't like the stadium. It kind of feels like a hospital. I don't. It doesn't have any feel.
Yeah, it doesn't have any character. It's just there. I
Yeah.
call it the easy bake oven because that's what happens to the poor folks that get burnt.
Yeah.
It's just there. It's generic. It's like the cookie cutter baseball football stadiums of the 70s. It's
Also,
just
you know what I would do?
whatever.
I'd start bringing back a lot of the older guys. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
Like, I would just start opening the doors up to all of the alum. I would love to see some older players, all of the past guys from when we were winning, especially even like the John Harbaugh years. Like, I would love to see all of those guys start coming around, I would really just open up the doors to the Niner family because I feel like we're a bit of an elitist team. You know what I mean? Like, we pose as elite. There's elitism on our team, and that's not who we are. When I run into the faithful, we're regular people, man. And I think that the prestige of our team has been hijacked by rich people. And there was, when you think of a Ravens fan or you think of a Pittsburgh fan, right? Or you think of like a Bears fan or a Lions fan or a Packers fan, you think of blue collar, right?
Right.
You think of salt of the earth, somebody who loves their city. They love where they're from. They love their team. They love the history and what it represents. And, I'm gonna tell you, man, like, it's a little, I don't know. We come off a little snobby and pretentious at times. And I kind of wish I would really work on that.
Yeah,
Being a little bit more inclusive.
Connect with your heritage and connect with the community.
Yeah, for sure.
Be real with the folks who have been there with you throughout.
Yeah.
I love all of that. That's phenomenal. I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
my turn a little bit.
Go off. Look, check me out. No clock, baby. Do your thing. Go.
I'll try to make it quick. I know we're running.
In a world.
Let's go.
In a world where, okay.
Go where no man has gone before.
Indeed. Yeah. that guy's on every single trailer. Okay, so what do we do? Stadium, Treasure Island, and you point it toward the city, and you have an amazing view, and you deal with it. You build it up. The technology now exists where you can deal with that. China is building floating cities in the water. You can do that. Treasure Island, stadium, best views ever. You could set it up so that you see downtown, you see Coit Tower, you see the Golden Gate Bridge. You align the stadium in a way so that you set up those views. Unbelievable. You put a BART station at Treasure Island. You build that up so that you can deal with that. You have a lot of boat service to Treasure Island. You do whatever you can. And then you build that up around it so that you've got retail and the shopping malls around the stadium idea that's always so hot. Do that. Get residential, get high-end restaurants. Everybody, if you can get on Treasure Island and build it up and deal with all of that, and then you put up residential retail, you're making a whole lot of money. Then tailgating. I would have tailgating like what they're planning in Chicago, where you can buy a beer service for your tailgating. You don't have to bring anything with you. They can have refrigerators for you. They can have barbecues for you. Road rage on the Bay Bridge. Yeah, I know, John. I'm sorry.
They love the Treasure Island idea, Tom.
That's why you have a BART station. That's why you have all of that stuff there. Is that you promote the heck out of trying to get there in any way other than driving, because the driving will be
Wait a minute. Hey, Tom, you're thinking too small, baby. Lee Ving got you. Hey, it's hard enough to get back to the bridge from Treasure Island as it is. Just build a new bridge. You're a trillionaire, Tom.
We're a trillionaire. That's right. So we'll have new bridges that go to Oakland and the city.
Multi-trillionaire for measure. Let's go.
And they won't even be under. They'll be under the water. Whatever
Let's
you want to do. But yeah, I would love the idea of a Treasure Island Stadium. I realize there's no freaking way unless you've got money to burn. but that's what I would do. I think that'd be incredible. If you had that site and then you built a stadium like what they're doing in Chicago, you could have the Olympics, you could have the World Cup, you could have the Final Four, you could do everything. I would love to have the Treasure Island Stadium. Regardless, they have to
That's kind of
blow up.
fire.
They have to blow up Levi's. They have to. I mean, you're
Yeah.
on the flight path to San Jose, the airport in San Jose, Mineta International. Come on. You know, we want planes
Dude,
flying
it's a
over
business.
them.
It's a business park, bro.
What is this, Shea Stadium? You want planes flying over the entire game? No.
It's ridiculous.
And then, we can't build shade because it's in the flight plan. Well, then you should put a stadium there, or you should submerge it so much that you can take care of the fans. But me, I have a state of the art, unbelievably designed stadium on Treasure Island, and I make it work. And I just throw money until it does work. So that's the facility. Start there. Then
I mean, offshore is kind of dope, man. It's kind of giving me like Bond Casino. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It'd be unbelievable. Then you have, in addition to that, you build an amphitheater for state-of-the-art amphitheater that fans can come in on game day and watch the game on a gigantic screen and make it an incredible experience where you've got catered by the best restaurants in the city and everybody can come there. If you can't afford to go to the game, you can still get together with your friends, go in the amphitheater, check the game out. And when that's not happening in the off days, you can bring in the best concert acts in the world and you can have the best musicians. And imagine if you're in an amphitheater watching your favorite artist and you've got that view where you've got the city and the bridge in Angel Island and you can look back behind you and see Oakland and the hills. That'd be incredible. I'd love that.
Oh, so, yeah. We're going full alhamdulillah. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
A-Rap money.
Worldwide, well, we're trillionaires. We can do that now.
Come on, man. Get out of here.
The genie gave us unlimited money, basically.
Throw my Rolls Royce at you.
So anyway, that's, I realize it's fantasy, but I think it's fun. I wanted to share that. Then in terms of the team, I hire Ray Agnew immediately. He becomes the new general manager with final personnel control, and Kyle can go hide in a broom closet for the draft. You're gone, dude. You are gone. And he is going to say, all right, now we're going to finally draft offensive linemen. He's the assistant GM with the Lions. He knows the value of an offensive line, a dominant offensive line. And he's learned from Brad Holmes, the best GM in the league. He's going to be the talent evaluator on this team. He's going to get things done. He's going to know how to build a team. He's going to know what they need to invest in. He's going to get things done right. And Kyle is going to have a year and say, okay, Kyle.
You're giving him one? I gave him two. You fucking grandstander. I gave him two. You had to give him one.
I can't handle Kyle for 2 more years. He's got
okay.
one.
All right. Okay. It's your fantasy. Go ahead.
It's my thing here. So yeah.
Go ahead. Do your thing. Do your thing.
Until Mr. Rourke and Tattoo tell me, shut up already. So yeah, that's the next thing I would do is I would give Kyle a year and say, okay, dude, no, go ahead. You had an idea. What were you gonna say?
No, do your thing. Go ahead. No, go.
So if that's what's going to happen, then I would have, finally, now you get a GM that knows what he's doing. You build the team, you invest where you should, you adjust, you learn from the league, and you grow. Getting rid of the wide 9, absolutely. Adding it to a 3-4, absolutely. Could Saleh handle that? Absolutely. And now you draft accordingly. You draft for dominant athletes that plug into the 3-4. That's what it should be. That's how you can win. On offense, I'd tell Kyle, you can do what you want, but I'm going to give you an offensive line. I would hope that you would then use it to establish a dominant running game and then play off of that. I also want you to develop a drop-back passing game. I think that's been neglected here. We need to get that back up to speed. You're a genius. Start proving it in that aspect of the game. I would hire an assistant game manager to help Kyle actually run the game instead of being buried in the Denny's menu, as you call it. I would have more input into what's going on in terms of the coordinators and what they would like to see. As far as you're developing these players, you know what they can do, you know where they're at. Get more of a collaborative experience in terms of game planning. I think that there's a lot of people that can contribute to that, but I still trust Kyle in saying, look, you are one of the best play designers in the league. You are a great offensive coordinator, but I think you need a little help and you've got too much on your plate. So I want to take that back, and now I want to see what you do. And if you do well, I'll keep you. If you don't, I'm going to replace you. But I'm going to make that Ray Agnew's call in terms of what he wants to do.
Man, that's a hell of a take. I'll tell you this also, man. If we could do it, if he was still around, Eddie D for president.
Oh, sure. The NFL wouldn't, though. They've banned him from being involved in the team.
We're fucking trillionaires, Tom.
Yeah.
Smack Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft in the face. We know who the NFL is. We know who the NFL is. We know who. It's Jerry Jones and Robert Kraft. And a little bit of Mara.
Yeah, this is true. But if we're trillionaires, we can throw our weight around.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
look, man.
Mike, I'm not saying will Kyle do it. Of course he wouldn't.
No.
But if I'm a trillionaire and I run the team, Kyle has to answer to me now, not Jed York. So figure it out, dude, or you're gone.
Hey, man.
It'd be fun.
It'd be an awesome topic. Tom, what do you got for the rest of the week, man?
Writing. A lot of stuff. I've got a new article out today that's on the philosophical changes that are needed in order for them to contend. That'll be followed by the roster moves they need to make that are based on how the Niners win. How do you go forward? And I think that what they have to do is take an evaluation of how did we succeed? And you go back to the Super Bowl years and you use that as the skill set profile of what the team should be. And you build out from there.
This is diabolical. Build Eddie D a casino below the stadium.
I love it.
Hey,
Absolutely do that.
And with that, we are closing the show. Yeah. It's your boy, the coach. This is the Coach's Huddle. As always, man, I'm going to be here to call the Super Bowl next weekend. We'll also be doing more draft prep and draft prospects. And we got a call-in show this Saturday. So be there or be square. This is the coach. This is Tom Jensen. You know what we're about to say, Tom. Stay low.
Stay low.
And keep your feet moving. We'll talk to you guys.